Hello, teachers. How are we doing today? And instructional coaches, if you're joining to watch this video, I wanted to make a quick video to share the new document I've put together that can be used to prep for MAP or EOC. This can be done when we're coming up close to the test and you're trying to squeeze in some practice items right before, but really I'd like to see this used throughout the year. So next year you can take things from this, blend it into your instruction, add them as do nows, practice. We really want to expose students to these sorts of things throughout the entire year, not just leading up to the MAP or EOC. So hopefully this will be a great resource for you guys. Also, there's a bit of resources for you if this is some of the aspects of MAP or EOC are kind of new to you. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. As I do, this is not just for teachers who are in a tested subject. So like in 6th and 8th grade, only 8th grade is tested. That doesn't mean that this document isn't useful for 7th or 6th grade. Because like I said, we want to be exposing students to these types of things throughout their science career. Same thing in high school. Even though we just test in biology, there is an optional physical science test. And I'm thinking about rolling this out next year. I just got to get approval because you got to pay for things. But this would also give you some great questions, item banks, and stuff like that for both physics first as well as chemistry. So there's stuff here for everybody, not just those that are tested. I'm just going to start at the top, work my way down. Those of you that have been with MAP and EOC, most of this will look familiar, although there's some new stuff as we go further down. So starting off the top, just real quick, as you know, when students take those state tests, they get classified as either below basic, basic, proficient, or advanced. And if you're like, what does that even mean? This is a document from DESE that actually outlines that rubric of what it means for a student to test in those different grade bands. So that might be useful, but essentially we're just looking for students to fall into the proficient and advanced categories. That means like, yes, we're doing good. We definitely want to reduce the below basic. When you move students from below basic to basic, you get a huge bump in points. It's like 3 points compared to 1 point for the other moves. So we definitely just want all students as much as possible out of below basic because that really hurts the district score. But you can read that document if that's useful for you. So practice tests, these are also called release items. The state releases a test version for you to go and kind of see like what does the test sort of look like. These have been around for a long time, so if you haven't seen these specifically, you've probably seen the questions or similar questions. So these will just be good for you to go through, and there's tons of different questions and things for you to present to students. There's a lot of good readings, data, images, things that you can steal, modify. These would be good for do nows, exit tickets. And one thing that would be useful is what you'll actually find is a lot of questions have passages with images and data. Those are sorts of skills that we need our students to develop over the course of 6 all the way up to 11th grade for the bio test. So stealing some of those to have students build up their stamina for analyzing text and images, definitely a good practice. So you can use those questions there. If you just need the actual standards, so I'll open up biology. So if you're like, well, I just need a document that really just breaks down the standards. These are built into your curriculum map. So if you're teaching on Life Science 1B, then those standards are linked and you just got that page. But this is all of the standards, as you can see. So if you just need to look at the standards, the breakdowns, all that sort of stuff, that is there. I'm going to skip down just a second because it relates to this. Let's say that you're new to teaching or first few years and you're like, okay, I kind of get standards, but like where did this stuff come from? What's going on with this? If you just scroll down a little bit, I have a standards training course that you could do where it's just like, and you don't have to start at the beginner if you feel like you kind of know the basics, but what are standards? Where do these things come from? How do you read them? What are the different components? And then a full breakdown is going through all the different components of standards. So if that's interesting to you, those are videos I found useful, and I'll add or adjust that if there's any more that I find, but that might be useful for those new to standards. Next up, if you're looking for some self-work, lab work, classroom activities. This is from Moleap Blocks, and I'll probably put the link in here just so you can head there. But this is all of the different activities that they have for the different subjects and their standards-based assignments. So these assignments really look at the standard, what is it assessing, and then give students tasks that align directly to completing that. So I'll go ahead and do one from physical science this time. This is a good one, where first couple pages, it tells you, hey, this is for teacher. So you're addressing this standard using a model of two objects interacting through electric or magnetic fields. And so then it uses touch screens like on our phones or computers and finding different items that will operate the touch screen, items that won't, like you use the stylus. It starts to have them go through different food items. So then trying to find a commonality between, okay, what works to interact with the touchscreen and what doesn't, and kind of creating their own model. As you can see, there's lots of questions, investigations, images, text. It's engaging students and graphs, engaging students on these higher level type of procedures. And this is one of the more lengthy ones. You can find shorter ones to build up to this, but giving them the actual practice for things that will translate to being more successful on the test. Because this is the type of thing that will be on the test, is it gives you a little passage, question. Oh, here's a little bit more information with more questions back to that passage. So it's important that we kind of gear our students up for those sorts of things. It also includes our favorite claim, evidence, reasoning at the end, and always gives students like a reflection page. It gives you, the teacher, rubrics for how to grade all this stuff, what you should be looking for. So the rest of these are for teachers, but so it's a great resource to steal some ideas from or to give out to students. So use those. Obviously, there's not as many for physical science right now, but they, I believe, theoretically are building out more of these. I don't think they're done. If we're just looking for more questions, increased item bank, I spent a little bit of time going through, these are the other states that are NGSS aligned. And even though Missouri isn't technically NGSS, they have their own. They basically just adopted NGSS, made a few modifications. So all these different states, okay, must have hit refresh. All these different states, I went and found some like sample release tests. I'm gonna have to go through and verify that these are the actual tests and you get an actual item bank, but these should give you a few more questions that you could steal from them if you're looking for some good questions. As we move down towards the bottom, you'll find things aren't quite complete because this is going to be a developing document. So one thing that I just haven't had the time to sit down and do is AI generated content. Essentially, I'd be using a resource like Magic School AI coming up, and I can just like for any standard create a lesson or question types, things like that, that would be useful. Once things are in here, always take it with a grain of salt because I'll try to check it, but you know, AI generated content, it's not 100% accurate, but it's a easy way for me to generate a ton of content for a lot of different standards fairly quickly, and it does a pretty good job. So look forward to that. And then KCPS actual documents. So this would just be resources developed within KCPS, either myself or some others. And this will be growing. This is a part where you guys can contribute to. So I'll give you an example. This came from our elementary science coordinator, Nick. You guys know Nick. And when he taught middle school, these were some of the things that he did. So as an example, you could assign this to students if they have their own copy to do an atom building activity. And so students would go through, I'll show you, and they can drag these to create the elements. And there's a bunch of practice elements. This would address that standard of students will be able to model molecules, compounds, elements, and that sort of stuff. So there's a few of them there for middle school. I will be searching through my resources to find some for the other ones, but a great resource. And then if you are sitting there like, hey, I've developed some stuff I think would be useful for everybody, reach out, contact me. I put a little note down here. and we can put a copy of those in here for other teachers to use. And then just at the bottom are some other great resources that kind of hit at those standard level, giving the students the practice that they would need to be successful on the test. This will probably also be growing. I have a few more that I want to add to it. So this is like a one-stop shop for everybody. It's got your middle school biology, physical science, makes that easy for coaches or teachers in those like PSEO. We don't have a bunch of different documents. This will just kind of house everything. All right, I think that video is getting long enough, but if you have questions or comments on some additions, please reach out, let me know. I want this to be a useful resource for everybody. I believe that is all. So I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.